From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. This is Dateline Malacañang in review. The Philippines House of Representatives on Monday received Malacañang's proposed 6.352 trillion peso national budget for 2025. Department of Budget and Management or DBM Secretary Amena Pangandaman formally turned over the National Expenditure Program or NEP to House Speaker Martin Romualdez and members of the Congress. Speaker Romualdez earlier assured the readiness of Congress to receive and deliberate on the proposed national budget and have it approved by the House Committee on Appropriations before Congress goes on recess in October. Romualdez said they will make sure that enough funds will be allocated for social services and for programs that will sustain the country's economic growth. The House leader said Congress will match the national budget with the spending priorities of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. and his agenda for prosperity. The proposed budget for next year is around 585 billion pesos more than this year's 5.768 trillion peso budget. As of May 31st, the DBM has already released 5.114 trillion pesos or 88.7% of the 2024 national budget.
Dateline Malacañang.
United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken and U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin III on Tuesday paid a courtesy call on Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. in Malacañang Palace. Blinken and Austin was in Manila for the Philippines-U.S. Foreign and Defense Ministerial Dialogue or 2+2 Dialogue hosted by Department of Foreign Affairs or DFA Secretary Enrique Manalo and Department of National Defense or DND Secretary Gilberto Chodoro Jr. This was the fourth iteration of the Philippine-U.S. Ministerial Dialogue, following the meeting held in Washington, D.C. last April of 2023. In the last 2+2 meeting, the two states issued a joint statement that reaffirmed full support for international law, modernizing shared defense capabilities of the alliance, advancing economic and environmental security, and cultivating vibrant and robust people-to-people ties between the two countries. Let's listen to the statements of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken, and U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin III.
And of course to our visitors from the United States, Secretary Tony Blinken and Secretary Lloyd Austin, for the 2+2 meetings that we are going to be conducting. Welcome back to the Philippines. And I'm always very happy that these communication lines are very open, so that all the things that we are doing together in terms of our alliance, in terms of the specific context of our situation here in the West Philippine Sea and in the Indo-Pacific, are continuously examined and re-examined, so we are agile in terms of our responses. But we are very happy to see you once again. I'm a bit surprised considering how interesting your political situation has become back in the States, but I'm glad that you found the time to come and visit with us.
Mr. President, thank you so much. Thank you for as always, the warm welcome. I bring you greetings from President Biden, Vice President Harris, along with Secretary Austin. We're very, very pleased to be here. Let me just start by sending our deepest condolences to all of the victims of the recent typhoon, and to say again, anything we can do to be of assistance, we welcome doing that. I think today is genuinely historic. This is the first time that the Philippines has hosted our 2+2. It's, I think, really evidence of a steady drumbeat of very high-level engagements between our countries that are covering the full range of issues and opportunities that bring us together, not only security, but also economic, and we're truly grateful for this partnership. We look forward to a very good day with our colleagues and to further advancing the critical work that we're doing together. So thank you again for receiving us.
No, of course.
Mr. President, let me echo Tony's comments on the warm welcome. It really is great to be back in country again. And also his offer of condolences for those who have been affected by the storm. You know, I've said a number of times that we're more than allies, we're family. And it always feels that way when you know, I'm working with our colleagues. You know, we have common interests, common values. And so I think we've done a lot over the last 3.5 years to continue to strengthen our alliance. And we look forward to continuing to work with you and your team to move even further. But thanks for your leadership, Mr. President. Again, it's been a great 3.5 years, and I look forward to another 3.5 or another 4 in strengthening this relationship. So thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. I think that all of the things that we have done in the previous months has been really serves really to make all our alliances and partnerships more actually have a working relationship, in the sense that lines of communications have been opened, and it's again, we are doing many more things together.
You just heard the statements of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken, and U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin III during the 2 U.S. officials' courtesy call in Malacañang Palace.
Dateline Malacañang.
United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken and U.S. Department of Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin III on Tuesday formally announced that Washington, D.C. would allot assistance worth $500 million to help in the ongoing modernization program of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, and the Philippine Coast Guard, or PCG. Secretary Blinken and Secretary Austin made the announcement during the 2+2 ministerial meeting with their Philippine counterparts, Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA Secretary Enrique Manalo, and Department of National Defense, or DND Secretary Gilberto Chodoro Jr. in Camp Aguinaldo in Quezon City. Austin said he wants to double their investment in the country's Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, or EDCA. Meanwhile, both U.S. officials assured that the support given to the Philippines will not change regardless of the outcome in the upcoming U.S. presidential elections. According to Secretary Blinken, the change in leadership in the U.S. is part of the democratic system, but relations between both countries will not change since the two nations are longtime friends and allies. Secretary Austin, for his part, said the U.S. government have a strong bipartisan support for the Philippines, and he can't imagine that a day will come that both countries will denounce their friendship. In the meantime, DFA Secretary Manalo expressed trust that the 70-year alliance between the Philippines and the United States will last longer because the relation is anchored not only on democratic principles but also its people-to-people relationship. Secretary Chodoro meanwhile said he believes the U.S. support to the Philippines is important in order to maintain a rules-based international order in the Indo-Pacific region. Both the Philippine Defense Secretary and Foreign Affairs Secretary thanked the U.S. officials for the successful holding of the historic 2+2 ministerial consultation and the help provided by the U.S. to the Philippines. According to Chodoro, the U.S. investment will not only help the Philippines' defense capabilities, EDCA will play a big role in the country's humanitarian assistance and disaster relief operations.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Tuesday directed disaster response agencies to ensure Filipinos receive timely warnings about incoming typhoons along with clear instructions on what actions to take and where to seek shelter or assistance. The President issued the directive during a sectoral meeting on preparations for the La Niña phenomenon at the Malacañang Palace. This comes following the onslaught of Typhoon Karina and the enhanced southwest monsoon or Habagat last week. In a social media post, the chief executive also asked government agencies to provide the public with critical disaster information such as the location of evacuation centers and emergency hotlines. During the meeting, President Marcos reiterated the need to build more water impounding projects as part of the government's master plan for flood management. The chief executive also directed the Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH, to pursue long-term, large-scale flood control plans and to improve catch basins to prevent floods. President Marcos Jr. also ordered the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, or MMDA, to continue to implement the large-scale drainage plan.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Tuesday vowed to continue pushing for the advancement of maritime education in the country. In his message during the 201st commencement exercises of the Philippine Merchant Marine Academy, or PMMA, read by Presidential Assistant on Maritime Concerns, Secretary Andres Centino, the President expressed confidence that the initiatives his government is taking will usher in the new breed of Filipino sailors that will change the local maritime landscape. Among government initiatives to advance maritime education are the revised standards for the Bachelor of Science in Marine Transportation and Bachelor of Science in Marine Engineering programs issued through a joint memorandum by the Maritime Industry Authority, or MARINA, and the Commission on Higher Education, or CHED. The policy includes the procedures for monitoring and evaluating maritime higher education institutions to ensure that they meet the highest global standards in line with the International Convention on Standards of Training, Certification, and Watchkeeping for Seafarers. In February this year, the Chief Executive issued Executive Order, or EO number 55, laying out the 10-year Maritime Industry Development Plan 2028, aimed at upskilling and reskilling the maritime workforce, improving their employability, and ensuring their continuous growth and development. In the same message, President Marcos also urged the PMMA graduates to be courageous and strong in character, as they now belong to the elite few who have endured the rigorous formation of this prestigious institution.
Dateline Malacañang.
In a significant gesture of strengthening ties between the national government and the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao or BARM, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Wednesday presided over the ceremonial turnover of the Third Intergovernmental Relations Body or IGRB Progress Report at the Heroes Hall in Malacañang Palace. The ceremony featured President Marcos Jr. receiving the progress report from Department of Budget and Management or DBM Secretary Amena Pagandaman, also co-chair of the IGRB, and Minister Mohager Iqbal, Ministry of Basic, Higher and Technical Education, and co-chair of the IGRB. The IGRB was established under Section 2, Article 6 of Republic Act No. 11054, known as the Bangsamoro Organic Law or BOL. Its primary mandate is to facilitate coordination and resolve issues between the national government and the Bangsamoro government through regular consultations and negotiations aiming to achieve mutual goals. In addition, the IGRB is responsible for operationalizing and overseeing other intergovernmental relations mechanisms outlined in the BOL. In his speech during the event, the President expressed optimism that the country will overcome the remaining challenges to ensure the continued development of the 5-year-old Bangsamoro region. The Chief Executive also urged Secretary Pangandaman to expedite the IGRB Manual of Operations and resolution of identified issues before the first BARM parliamentary elections next year. Let us listen to Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Today we are gathered here to celebrate what is a significant milestone in our collective journey towards the success of Bangsamoro region. This ceremonial turnover of the Third National Government Bangsamoro Government Intergovernmental Relations Body or IGB Progress Report is a testament to our fruitful partnership and enduring commitment to peace and development. The operationalization of all 7 IGRB mechanisms is pivotal to the smooth implementation of the provisions and principles laid down in the Bangsamoro Organic Law. With the said bodies established, we now possess the necessary platforms to ensure greater collaboration, coordination, and cooperation between the national government and the Bangsamoro government in pursuing our shared goals and endeavors for our people. Through these mechanisms, we have witnessed significant achievements. First, the qualification and commissioning of former MILF and MNLF members into the Philippine National Police. Second, the inclusion of the proclamations granting amnesties to former members of the MILF and the MNLF, which was issued last November 2023 and concurred with by the House of Representatives and the Senate. Third, is a successful turnover of various properties and assets of the national government within the BARM to the Bangsamoro government. And lastly, the signing in July last year of the Intergovernmental Energy Board Circular on the joint award on petroleum service contracts and coal operating contracts in BARM. These peace and development milestones are part of our collective efforts to lay the groundwork for effective governance and meaningful autonomy in BARM. I am confident that we are on the right path to building a more peaceful, stable, and prosperous Bangsamoro region as we find responsive solutions to the remaining issues and concerns that still need to be addressed. I am confident that the IGRB shall continue performing and executing its mandate pursuant to the principles and provisions of the Bangsamoro Organic Law. maximize the established mechanisms as a conduit for identifying and resolving issues, ensuring judicious use of resources, and learning about best governance practices for BARM. Sustaining and ensuring that our progress remains resilient amidst political transitions is absolutely crucial. With the forthcoming elections, I urge the Department of Budget and Management Secretary and co-chair of the IGRB to expedite the finalization of the IGRB Manual of Operations and Resolution of Identified Issues. The manual will clarify the roles, the functions that facilitate a proactive monitoring of issues and establish a system of continuity amongst those mechanisms. As we move forward, let us be reminded that our partnership is built on trust, respect, and a shared vision for our people's prosperity and their well-being. I reaffirm once again the national government's unwavering commitment to helping and assisting the Bangsamoro government in all its endeavors as we continue with this important process not only for Muslim Mindanao, not only for the southern Philippines, but for the entire republic. So together, let us continue to build a future where peace, progress, and unity prevail. May our collective efforts to bring about positive change for the BARM and our nation be realized sooner rather than later. Inshallah.
You just heard Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang on Wednesday said the government is looking for a likely candidate to replace the position vacated by Department of Trade and Industry or DTI Secretary Alfredo Pascual in order to ensure the smooth transition and continue its mandate. In a social media post, the Presidential Communications Office or PCO announced the resignation of Secretary Pascual effective August 2nd as he transitions back to the private sector. This was confirmed by the PCO following the announcement that President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. accepted Pascual's resignation. According to the palace, the President recognized the services of Secretary Pascual, particularly for guiding the restoration and transformation of the Philippine economy. The Chief Executive also understands that it is the time for Pascual to return to the private sector. Malacañang said they are saddened with the resignation of the DTI Secretary, but the government will make sure the agency will continue its initiatives.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine Department of Budget and Management or DBM Secretary Amenna Pangandaman officially turned over copies of the 2025 National Expenditure Program or NEP to President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Wednesday in Malacañang Palace, with the theme Agenda for Prosperity Fulfilling the Needs and Aspirations of the Filipino People. The proposed national budget is anchored on the Philippine Development Plan or PDP 2023 to 2028 and will continue ushering in economic and social transformation. In a social media post, the President said the budget focuses on enhancing healthcare, education and income opportunities, creating quality jobs and revitalizing agriculture, industry and services, and promoting good governance, better infrastructure, and disaster resilience. President Marcos called on Congress for the realization of the NEP, according to the submitted documents by the DBM, to implement government programs and projects for next year. Joining Secretary Pangandaman were DBM Undersecretaries Margot Salcedo, Maria Francesca Del Rosario, Wilford Will Wong, Rolando Toledo, and Attorney Leo Angelo Larcia, as well as Assistant Secretary Mary Ann de la Vega. Prior to the event, DBM Secretary Pangandaman submitted the 2025 NEP to the House of Representatives, which boosts investments on education, infrastructure, social economic development, and climate action.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Wednesday met Charon Pokphand Group or CP Group Chairman Supakij Chris Cheravanont to discuss agricultural projects, among other topics, at the Laperal Mansion in Malacañang Palace. In a social media post, the president said CP Group has committed an additional $1.5 billion in investments to the country, starting with a 10,000-hectare modernized mega farm. The chief executive said his meetings with the Thai conglomerate at the sidelines of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation or APEC in Bangkok in 2022 and at Malacañang Palace in May of 2023 have proven to be meaningful and productive. President Marcos expressed his gratitude to his friend Chris with his plans and commitment to expand their business operations in the Philippines. In May last year, the president announced CP Group's plan to invest about $2.5 billion in the country following his meeting with the company's officials at Malacañang. CP Group executives first met with President Marcos during his November 2022 visit to Thailand. A leading holding company in Thailand, CP Group holds investments in 21 countries and economies worldwide, operating through more than 200 subsidiaries and employing more than 300,000 people. It operates across 8 business lines: agro-industry and food, retail and distribution, media and telecommunications, e-commerce and digital, property development, automotive and industrial products, pharmaceuticals, and finance and investment. One of the many affiliates in the CP Group is the Charon Pokphand Foods Public Company Limited or CPF, which operates as an integrated agro-industrial and food business, including livestock and aquaculture. The CPF subsidiary, Charon Pokphand Foods Philippine Corporation or CPF-PC, is the largest and most significant Thai investment in Philippine agriculture.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other news, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Thursday urged Filipinos to love the country's national language, emphasizing its importance in cultivating the Filipino identity. In his message for the celebration of the Buwan ng Wikang Pambansa, the President said the commemoration serves as an important reminder to Filipinos to wholeheartedly love the Filipino language and comes from the awareness that our inherited languages present our wonderful identity as a people. The chief executive said Filipino literature is full of works that deepen love for the country and encourage the new generation to also enjoy their own. President Marcos urged Filipinos to take these literary pieces to heart and mind to foster greater collaboration for a progressive, free, and unified Philippines. The country commemorates Buwan ng Wikang Pambansa every August under Proclamation No. 1041 issued by former President Fidel Ramos in 1997. For this year, the month-long celebration theme is Filipino Wikang Mapagpalaya. According to President Marcos, Proclamation number 1041 is a cornerstone in strengthening unity and sense of self, and the reason why the country celebrate these qualities.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, 19 overseas Filipino workers or OFWs from Lebanon have returned to the Philippines on Thursday, arriving at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport or NAIA Terminal 3 on board Qatar Airways Flight QR934. The OFWs decided to return to the country due to the intense fighting between Israel and Hamas militants. Besides the 19 OFWs, 3 of the returning Filipino workers also brought with them their children. The Department of Migrant Workers or DMW and Overseas Workers Welfare Administration or OWA provided financial assistance worth 100,000 pesos to each of the OFW returnee, along with comprehensive reintegration assistance and job facilitation services for other employment opportunities. Besides this, they also received 20,000 pesos worth of livelihood assistance from the Department of Social Welfare and Development or DSWD, as well as skills training voucher from the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority or TESDA. With this batch, the repatriation brings to a total of 1,085 OFWs and 43 dependents returnees from Lebanon due to the Israel-Hamas conflict through the joint efforts of the DMW, OWA, and the Department of Foreign Affairs or DFA.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, Radyo Pilipinas World Service of the Presidential Broadcast Service is heard over the following shortwave frequencies: 15.640 MHz, 17.820 MHz, and 12.010 MHz. You can also visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel at Radyo Pilipinas World Service. You will be able to hear and view our Filipino and English programs, including news updates here in the Philippines. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our posts as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang in Review. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and stay safe.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.